By the 13th year of the prophethood, nearly all the inhabitants of Yathrib, the city that we now call Medina, knew about Islam. Mus'ab, the prophet, peace be upon him's first envoy to Medina, had done an excellent job inviting people to Islam, which we mentioned in our last video. Almost every house now had at least one man or one woman who had accepted Islam. In view of this positive situation, Musab traveled to Mecca before the new pilgrimage season to inform the Prophet, peace be upon him, of this good news. He knew that Muslims were facing difficult challenges there, and so he wanted to suggest Medina as a good place for them to seek refuge. So in June of the year 622, over 70 converts from Medina came to Mecca with Musab to meet the Prophet, peace be upon him. 73 men and 2 women came with the pilgrims' Hajj delegation. They met him in secret on the last night of Hajj. Al-Abbas, the Prophet Muhammad's uncle, was present at that meeting. Now, he had yet to convert to Islam, but he attended to make sure that his nephew was going to be safe in Medina. In the book The Sealed Nectar, it's narrated that Al-Abbas told the Medina delegation, "If you think that you can carry out what you promise while inviting him to your town, and if you can defend him against the enemies, then assume the burden that you have taken. But if you're going to surrender him and betray him after having taken him away with you, you had better leave him now, because he is respected and well defended in his own place." The delegation then asked the Prophet Muhammad what his conditions were to consider moving to Medina. He responded that they would listen, they would obey his commandments, that they would defend him as if they were defending their own families. And then they asked the Prophet, peace be upon him, what would happen if he was to be victorious? Would he leave them and then return to Mecca? The Prophet, peace be upon him, responded, "In life and in death, I will be with you and you with me. I will fight whom you fight, and I will make peace with those whom you make peace." Now, this was an important promise that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, kept, because around 8 years later, after the conquest of Mecca, the Muslims of Medina, who are referred to as the Ansar, thought that he was going to abandon them and move back to Mecca. But no, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, kept his promise, and after the conquest of Mecca, he returned with them to Medina to live out the rest of the years of his life. They asked the Prophet, peace be upon him, what their reward would be if they observed the terms of this pact. And the Prophet, peace be upon him, replied, "Paradise is in store for you." Then they asked him to stretch out his hand, and they all stretched out their hands, and they took the pledge. And as for the 2 women in the delegation, they gave their pledge verbally. Now, one of them was named Nusayba bint Ka'b. She gave the oath of allegiance to the Prophet, peace be upon him, and she lived up to it. 4 years later, there was a battle called the Battle of Uhud, and in that battle, she had gone out with the army to volunteer as a nurse to take care of the wounded. But she ended up physically defending the Prophet, peace be upon him, at a difficult time in the battle when he was needing protection. Seeing that the Prophet, peace be upon him, was in danger, Nusayba armed herself and she joined a tight circular formation to protect him. She put into practice the pledge she made at Al-Abbas, and she helped save the life of the Prophet, peace be upon him. But unfortunately, as a consequence, she did suffer from 12 wounds in that battle. But in later years, at the age of 60, she still was fighting, and she joined the Muslim army at that time, led by Khalid ibn Walid at the Battle of Yarmouk. And from the very start, Muslim women like her and others played an important role in public life, and they should continue to do so today. New convert sisters to Islam should not be disheartened if they face situations that try to prevent them from making a positive contribution to the community. They should claim their rights and do their best to get them, inspired by the first generation of Muslim women. For example, some mosques in Europe today or other parts of the world unfortunately don't even have a suitable place for women to pray. This situation has to change because the Prophet said, "Do not prevent your women from going to the mosque, even though their houses are better for them." In the Seerah, we're going to see many more shining examples of Muslim women who did a lot for Islam. In addition to Lady Khadija, they include Asma, the daughter of Abu Bakr, Lady Aisha, and Salama, and others. Now, going back to Mecca, Salama at the time was married to Abu Salama. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had given his companions the green light to start moving to Medina. Abu Salama and his wife and child were the first family to attempt this journey, but it was not an easy move because the people of Mecca were doing everything they could to stop Muslims from leaving town. When Abu Salama started the journey, he was stopped. His in-laws prevented his wife from going with him to Medina and snatched his son. So she was separated from her husband and her son at this time. Every day for a year, Salama went to the place where she had been separated from her family, and she wept. Eventually, one of her relatives felt sorry for her and convinced her family to allow her to leave. Now reunited with her son, they set out on their own to Medina, a journey that's 500 kilometers long. Along the way, at a place outside of Mecca called El-Ta'nim, Uthman ibn Talha, a non-Muslim, offered to escort her on the journey. He took her all the way to Quba, a place outside of Medina where her husband was located. And the family was finally reunited after that difficult, long hardship. After that, more Muslims decided to move to Medina, including Suhaib the Roman and Umar ibn al-Khattab. Concerned for his companions, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, waited till most of them had left Medina and arrived there safely before he too made that journey. But what happened next? Well, more events from the Seerah will be detailed in the next part of this series. Stay with us, inshallah.